In the day's other news, Kenya's election commission says that President Uhuru Kenyatta has won a second term. It follows days of protest by backers of opposition leader Raila Odinga, who claimed that the vote was rigged. The commission said Kenyatta won 54% of the vote, which it called credible and fair. Afterwards, Kenyatta spoke in Nairobi and appealed for unity.
To my worthy competitor, especially the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, I reach out to you, I reach out to all your supporters, I reach out to all who are elected on now the opposition benches. We shall work together.
But just minutes after the results were announced, there were reports of protesters clashing with police in opposition strongholds. Witnesses said they heard gunshots and screaming. At least 43 people are dead after two passenger trains collided in Egypt today. It happened just outside the Mediterranean port city of Alexandria and is the country's deadliest rail accident in over a decade. More than 120 people were injured. A train traveling to Cairo crashed into the back of another train, which was waiting at a station. It's not clear what caused the incident. In Venezuela, embattled President Nicolas Maduro now says that he wants a meeting with President Trump. It comes amid the country's deepening political crisis and after the U.S. sanctioned the socialist leader and his allies. Maduro spoke before members of the new all-powerful Constitutional Assembly and called for something to be arranged.
Initiate negotiations so I can have a personal conversation with Donald Trump. If you are so interested in Venezuela, here I am. Here is the chief of your interests, Nicolás Maduro, constitutional president of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. Mr. Donald Trump, here is my hand.
Maduro suggested the two could meet at next month's United Nations General Assembly. But in the same speech, Maduro ranted against Mr. Trump, calling him, quote, an emperor. And late today, Peru expelled Venezuela's ambassador to protest what it sees as a power grab by Maduro. The head of the U.S. Senate Judiciary Committee said that he no longer expects an imminent vacancy on the U.S. Supreme Court. There had been speculation in recent months that 81-year-old Justice Anthony Kennedy was considering retirement. But Iowa Republican Chuck Grassley, whose committee handles court nominees, said today, quote, evidently that is not going to happen. There is word that congressional investigators now want to question President Trump's longtime personal secretary. ABC News reports that it is part of the probe into last year's meeting between Trump campaign officials and a Russian lawyer. The assistant, Rona Graff, was mentioned in an email exchange between Donald Trump Jr. and a British publicist who helped to set up the meeting. On Wall Street today, stocks turned slightly higher after days of jitters over North Korea. The Dow Jones Industrial Average gained 14 points to close at 21,858. The Nasdaq rose 39 and the S&P 500 added 3. For the week, the Dow lost about 1%. The Nasdaq and the S&P dropped about 1.5%.